Today, I'm talking to Brian Yepes, who's a multi-platinum producer who's got songs like Laugh Now, Cry Later with Drake, and a ton of crazy records with Don Toliver, Travis Scott, Post Malone. The list goes on and on and on. In this video, Brian's gonna break down how he got his foot in the door in the music industry, and specifically how he built relationships to work with artists like Drake, Travis Scott, Don Toliver, even when he had no big name for himself in the beginning. And he's gonna give a bunch of gems on getting records as a music producer, so sit back and get ready to soak up some game. You've had a crazy run working with Drake, Travis Scott, Don Toliver, Post Malone, like all these crazy artists. So I wanted to first ask you, what is your favorite record that you've worked on?
That's a hard one because they're all so special, you know what I mean? It's hard, man, because like, for example, like Travis Scott's one of my favorite artists. So like when I landed my first with Travis, which was Ring Ring with Chase B, I was like, whoa, this was crazy. Just like being able to work with like my favorite artists or like Post Malone, one of the nicest artists I've ever worked with. I think the one that really holds like a special place in my heart is Don Toliver's Heartstone Psycho. That whole project, like as a whole, I think that's the most involved I've ever been on a project, like from start to end, to seeing how the records were from originally to where they're at now and released. Nah, man, that project's really special and it holds a very special place in my heart. I mean, I've worked with Don Toliver since Life of a Don. Even before that with Chase. You know, Don's always been a big artist from when I met him, but like I've been able to see him grow way bigger than when I first met him. So it's like, I would say that one probably holds the spot right now. Obviously, like even the Drake one, that one's insane. What a blessing, you know?
Hell yeah, good shit. What made you go all in on the placement side of stuff versus trying to do the online stuff? I don't know if maybe you did in the past try to do like beat selling and all that, but at least from the outside looking in, it just looks like you're just focused on just industry stuff.
You know, man, I never did the online thing in the beginning. I started making ideas like producing end of 2016 and I got serious towards 2017 mid-end, early 2018. I worked a lot in the beginning with this group Wallace Lane. I learned a lot from them, man. I used to send them beats. I used to make beats on this machine, melodies, everything from start to end. They'd always be like, yo, send me stems. And then they hit me from like, yo, stop sending beats, just send the melodies. Like if you're making beats, just mute the drums and send the melody because that shit's going crazy. And I think when I went to LA, I saw how they work. I was like, yo, they're very focused on just shooting melodies to producers. I remember going home and just being like, yo, I'm just gonna focus on melodies. And they had it very instilled that I had to be very exclusive. So I think at the time, a lot of the producers I'd run into, they weren't the biggest fan of like online stuff because it felt like if it's online, everybody has it. And people that I was around really just wanted things that nobody else has. So I never really built an online brand. But for example, Nami, I know Nami before he even started any of those packs. At the time, Nami didn't have all those placements that he has now, but Nami was doing really good with the kits. And then those kits got him hella placements. That was one of those first people that I was like, holy shit, he's making money off the kits. I probably should do more of it. Shout out Nami, bro. That's my brother, bro. Real day one.
How did you actually get your first major placement?
My first placement ever was with this artist that was on the come up. His name's K Forest.
Oh, bro, I love K Forest.
Yeah, he's sick. I did the song ONS. It's a simple guitar, everything. I had paid for a collab with G-Rai. It was like, what, $300 for this collab? And G-Rai had sent me the beat back, and then he emailed me again like 2 weeks later and was like, yo, we got one with K Forest. Song came out, and I just remember like, that was the first time I've ever had like, wow, my music's like out in the world. Like that was cool. So then I had paid for another collab. That collab ended up landing with like some other artists like Lance Trip Chip, who's an insane writer. But now my first major placement was Juice WRLD, The Bee's Knees, which is on Death Race for Love. And that was also produced by me, G-Rai, Hit Boy, and No ID, which is an insane lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a crazy lineup, yeah.
That was like my first #1 on Billboard with the album. That was my first platinum, my first double platinum album, my first gold single. I was like, you know, that record really holds a very special place because it was like, you know, it was like the first of everything, my first major. It's like, that's so special that my first major placement gets to be all these things. Yeah, I was like one of the first ones where I was like, whoa, this was crazy.
I had this question for later in the video, but you said that you originally had paid G-Rai like what, $300 or something to do a collab, right? So did you end up getting locked in with him because you were willing to do those paid collabs? And then you flash forward years down the line, then you get a Drake record with them, right? Is that how it happened?
So what happened is, like I said, I was working with Wallace Lane. Wallace Lane had a Drake record with them called Nothings Into Somethings. When I seen this song, I went on Genius and checked the credits, which is something I do a lot. I seen Wallace Lane's credits. I already knew their credits, but when I seen G-Rice's credits, I didn't really know who G-Rice was at the time. So when I checked his credits, I realized like, bro, I'm listening to this guy's music a lot. I'm a huge Party Next Door fan. So I went on his IG, and throughout time, I seen him post one time like, yo, DM me for collabs, be money ready. So I DM him, I was like, yo, how much? And he put 300 with like his PayPal info, and I just sent it. So when the K4 thing happened, I immediately just reinvested, and then something else came out of that, and I paid one more time for another collab. I had hit him up because I was like, I ain't trying to pay $300. He had given me a discount on the last collab, and the last collab, I sent some insane shit. I just remember I purposely was like, I'm gonna flood him with 3 emails full of melodies, even though I shouldn't have. And I just remember him giving me his number. It was like, bro, let's just work. That's where we just started working. We, you know, me and G-Ray definitely have a good chapter of amount of records that we have together, and that's someone who has a part of my history.
I think that's such a dope because I'm always telling people, maybe not like most times, but there's a lot of people who will do paid collabs, and I won't even say it's a scam, but it's probably just a waste of money. The way that I would approach it if I was to do a collab is like purposefully sending them shit that will make them be like, I don't give a fuck if you pay me in the future. I need to work with you because your stuff's so good. You know what I mean?
Right. I think to anyone who's ever paid for a collab, because when people have heard this story, they're like, yo, you're lucky, what the fuck? Like, the way I look at it is, man, if you're really going to invest into a collaboration, you got to put your best foot forward. You're potentially opening a door to work with someone who could lead you to so many more records. Me and G-Ray landed over 10 records together. That like $800 or $1,000 investment led to a bunch more. You got to sometimes treat this shit like if you're a baseball, like give it 3 strikes, try it out. You know what I'm saying? Scared money don't make money.
Real quick, before we get into the rest of the interview, if you want to get your beats heard by producers like Brian, potentially get the opportunity to work with them, you've got to check out the Sonics Academy. Sonics Academy is essentially an exclusive community where I have a bunch of serious producers where me and my team give you feedback every single day. We do almost weekly calls where I'll have multi-platinum producers like Brian, who's actually been on calls in the community, as well as people who've worked with Future, Kanye, Lil Baby, and so many more. But essentially, I do weekly mentorship calls where I will give you guys advice on a specific topic, review you guys' beats, and overall just try to give you some guidance so that you can level up and become the producer you want to be, whether that's business side, getting better at music, both at the same time. We got you covered. So if you want some direct help from me and my team leveling up, click that first link in the description to check out the Sonics Academy. Let's get back into the video. I feel like the big thing with paid collabs is like, it's 100% a waste of money if you're not sonically there yet. If your stuff is already amazing, that's where it could start to be worth it, I think.
The thing is, like, back then it was more common though. You know, back then it was more common than it is now. I think now people really do hold more of that. You gotta get it on your own. You gotta build it on your own. You gotta get these people's attention, whether it's a reel or a TikTok or a story post that you ghost tag them in, and now you have, you know, there's so many.
That's a new. I see so many of the younger producers doing that shit now, where it's like, I mean, it works. Like, you mention them in your story.
Every day I have this little circle on top of my notifications. I click it. I don't really listen to everybody, but like,
better chance than DMing you.
Yeah.
As someone who's in the position of like, I would spend all day going through my messages if I responded to everyone. I do not respond to DMs from like people that I don't already know. But if someone mentioned me in their story, I'm like, the fuck do they say about me, or like post about, you know what, like, I'm just curious, like, what the hell is this about?
If it was me back then, yeah, I would have been tagging Boy Wonder, Alan Ritter, like OZ, like those are the people you tag. You're giving them anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds to capture their attention. So whatever you post better be unique and fire, and it better be in their alley. You gotta send with purpose. You gotta know who you're sending to.
Yeah, I mean, same thing even with the like a loop maker tagging another loop maker. Maybe what could work, let's say I wanted to work with you. If I had like a unique thing and I was like, I'm an insane vocalist, I would tag you and be like, at Brian Yepis, whatever, I'm trying to do vocals over your loops or something like that, then could be like interesting.
Yes, like here's what I'll say. If you're someone who makes compositions and loops and melodies, whatever, right? And you're trying to capture the attention of somebody else that does the same thing. There's specific ways of capturing that. If you do vocals, for example, when it comes to vocals, there's specific people I tend to go to for vocals. If you're trying to capture the attention of somebody else that makes a melody, and let's say you're good at vocals, showcase that. Showcase it, whether it's, oh, do they have a kit on Kingsway or Wave Supply or wherever. Get their kit, pay a little extra, get the stems, flip it, and you DM them, hey, I just got your kit. Look at these things that I flipped. Post it on your story, ghost tag them, send it to their surrounding friends that might be like, yo, this is crazy. They flipped your shit insane.
I mean, literally yesterday I got like a text from Vale, or Matt, you call him Matt, and he was like, bro, this whatever kid is crazy. And I had like seen his name a few times on my Discord server, and I had gotten like 2 texts from like people that I talk to directly every day that were like, yo, this kid is crazy, whatever. And then I was like, yeah, I need to lock in with them, and I sent him all my vocals and phrases and all this stuff. That's why it works so well when I work with all these people, because it's like they're not asking work from me to like work on their stuff. It's like they're just making stuff on my stuff, and then by the time I send it back, I'm already on it and I could just send it out. You know what I mean?
Bro, and there's some, and then you get different versions. Like my favorite, bro, is when I send an idea and they send it back and it's like, yo, I can't even recognize this.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, how did you actually, because you were talking about working closer with artists, how did you actually get to work with Don Toliver in the first place?
Man, so this is the second thing that I would say is a chapter in my life that I'd say like, yeah, from this point, like things changed too. I was in LA working with a bunch of producers and artists and whatnot, and I came back home. This is around the era of Juice WRLD, Bee's Knees. The Astroworld tour was going on, so the stop was in Sacramento, and I had, bro, like I said, I'm a huge Travis Scott fan, so I had bought like on his merch site, he had like this lanyard that if you bought it, you could enter any show you're going to early to go buy merch or get your spot. So I remember I got 2 lanyards, one for me and one for my wife, and I got our tickets to BGA, and I was like, yo, I need to see Travis like front row, bro. Like I literally had it planned that when I arrived from LA, we're going straight there. And my wife calls me and she's like, I'm 45 minutes late. In our plans, it was I land, we go. Getting calls from my friends. Yo, everyone's here. People were camping. I'm talking to my friend. I'm like, yo, you gotta figure this out. And someone's walking by and I see these Jordan 1s. They weren't out at the time, but they're the ones with the reverse swoosh. And I'm like, who the fuck has these shoes? I had seen the shoes and then I look, I'm like, yo, that's Chase. I told my friend, like, yo, Chase B's here. Let me call you back. I go up to Chase and I'm like, yo, I just want to give you your flowers. Thank you for like everything you and Trav have built. You guys have inspired me tons, like the brand you guys built, everything. Like, and he's like, nah, man, thank you, whatever. Shook my hand. And in my head, I'm like, bro, I'll be so stupid if I don't tell him I'm a producer. Even though he's Travis Scott's DJ. And I remember going up to him and being like, everything I just told you, I just said to him, I was like, yo, I'd be stupid if I didn't tell you I'm a producer. He goes, oh, shit. Yeah, bro, I've actually been making beats lately. He starts telling me this shit. You got a place I can see your shit? And I was showing him my Genius, like what records I had at the time. I had some shit with Trippy ass. You know, I had like some shit going on. And he had give me his number. He's like, yes, text me some shit. I was so inspired that day. Every week I'd send 3 ideas to Chase. I got 0 responses for 3-4 months. And then there's a snippet of this Young Thug like song with Sheck West that was going on the internet. I was like, yo, that's my melody. I don't know how they got it. I get a call from Chase and Chase was like, yo, you got my first single, Mayday. That call was when we finally started talking, working. It led to that, to another song with Ashton Travis, Casino, and then For Me. And then one time he hit me up, he's like, yo, what are you doing this weekend? They were doing like this camp for Utopia. So he invited me. So I was cooking up with Chase. I met Sunny Digital there. I met Wonder Girl there. And there's where I met Don. Funny enough, I already had a song with Don called Ring Ring that they recorded at the end of 2019. That song didn't come out until like 2-3 years later. But when Don knew that I had done Ring Ring, he was like, yo, I love that record. What? At the time I was working with Sunny Digital, you know? So it's like, I started running into Don from Houston. Anytime I go to Houston, I see Don, we work on new records. I go to LA. If I was with Chase, I'd run into Don. And so we were always like running into each other to the point where I was like, yo, like shoot me your number. I started sending him beats, melodies, and he would get on all these ideas. And then, you know, Derek became his engineer. Me and Derek would always work, man. Derek's an insane producer. You know, anytime I started talking with Derek and then seeing that he's actually an insane producer too, I was working with him. And then next thing you know, by the time of Lovesick, I had 2 records on Lovesick. Me and Derek had worked on Time Heals All. Yeah, man, it's like from the first camp to the last camp, like that relationship with Don, like I said, shout out Chase B. You know, it went from me at the airport just having the balls to say, yo, thank you for what you did. And hey, I'd be dumb not to ask, but I'm a producer, would love to send you sounds, you know, because you really miss the shots you don't take. I'd rather take it and not think about like, what if? So I took the shot, whether I made it or did. I feel like I made it. So it's so important. Like if you ever do have that opportunity, like, you know how easy it is for people to DM, like, bro, if you could see them in person, give them their flowers and let them know who you are to try to get the connect, cool. But even just giving the flowers and letting them know who you are, and if you see them again, probably not as hard to get that exchange of info. You're already planting the seeds, whether you get it or you don't, or plant the seeds. Like that's a challenge, bro. That's actually the challenge.
Thank you for making it to the end of this video. Quick reminder, if you want to get your beats heard by people like Brian Yepes, who's actually going to be doing more beat reviews inside of the community, click that first link in the description down below to check out the Sonics Academy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.